hate this computer. It's not even a computer. It's a video game console that can basically do nothing more than do simple, basic commands. This is not a computer for a professional. I need a computer for the real businessman. The businessman, the professional man, the man who basically doesn't need something that can run basic. Basic is for chumps of the 70s. This is the 80s now. This is the whole decade of opportunity and professionalism. And we need to make sure we have a computer that can handle just that. Commodore VIC-20. What is a VIC-20 anyway? It sounds like somebody doesn't know how to spell anything. And what does a 20 mean? It only has 3.5K of RAM. Not even Apple has the computer for me. And Atari? Pfft, this is another 8-bit toy. No, I need a computer meant and designed and perfected for the professional businessman. You know, the kind of man who drives a Maserati on Monday and a Ferrari on Friday. Whose idea of a cheap suit is still 3 zeros behind the number. Who has a $1 billion business broker deal for breakfast and a corporate merger for dinner and a nice 100K sign-on bonus for dessert. I need a computer for the professional businessman. And there's only one computer that can do that. And no, not IBM. That's a personal computer. And it's even outdated, antiquated by this new product that just came on the market from a company that's basically been in the business of professional electronics. A real computer like this. The Texas Instruments professional computer. None of this personal computer nonsense. None of this 8-bit toys like the VIC-20 or the Apple II Plus or whatever they're called. No, this is the real businessman's computer. A computer such as this. The Texas Instruments professional computer. Better than every other offering from all the other companies combined. Apple II, VIC-20, those are toys. Atari, what are we, playing video games? Even IBM's personal computer doesn't even hold a candle to the true, raw potential of the professional computer. In fact, it's even better than IBM's offerings in any way. Both the PC 5150 and the PC XT 5160. Extended technology. Not much better than the 5150 anyway. Max RAM, 640K with RAM expansion cards that take up valuable expansion slots? No. This thing's max RAM, 768K. Wouldn't you like an additional 128K in your bank account? I know I would. This thing even has more RAM. Faster CPU, 4.77. What is that? Now, Texas Instruments basically overclocked it. 5 whole megahertz. 2 180K compatible 5.25 floppy disks. The standard of most computers, but unlike most computers, this has an integrated hard drive controller built onto the motherboard. No external card here, which allows you to install an optional 10 megabyte Winchester hard drive. Can't do that with IBM, especially the 5150. Power supply is not big enough. Costs cutting. Not with this machine. And also, IBM's, you have to choose what video card you want, for what video output you want. If you want crisp, clear text for all those lovely documentations, well, you have to go with a monochrome card. But what if you're a businessman that needs some sort of graphs to show all the business profit potentials? Well, you can't do that with monochrome. You have to install the CGA card, and you lose your crisp, clear text. Not so with the Texas Instruments. This monitor here has capabilities of both monochrome and CGA style color graphics, allowing you the best of both worlds out of a single card, something IBM doesn't offer. Even the monitor itself, a CGA compatible asterisk monitor that allows you to very vividly detail all those crisp, clear colors. Now, some people may call the operating system proprietary. We businessmen call it bespoke. It's better than the pure MS-DOS or even the PC-DOS that the IBM's offering, making this a far superior machine in every sense of the word. That's right. So yeah, it's 1983. You need a real businessman's computer. You need the Texas Instruments professional computer, starting at a very comparable price to IBM's. So get on down to your local electronics stores and ask about the real business computer, the professional computer. So yes, all jokes and bad acting aside, I don't even know if I'm going to use that first part. That was actually pretty cringy. But anyway, yes, this is the Texas Instruments professional computer. And this is my submission this year for Dosember 2022. And I thought I'd start out with a banger here. This has got to be one of the most interesting DOS-based computers I think I have in my collection right now. And I'll admit, I never even heard of this thing. In fact, when I saw it, I didn't even realize that's what it was. I honestly thought it was a compact desk pro, which I was kind of looking for one because of their significance in the PC market. Their desktop versions anyway. So yeah, when I got this thing all cleaned up, as good as I'm going to get it, I'll explain that here towards the end of the video. I was actually pleasantly surprised it said Texas Instruments, and my first immediate thought was, oh, Texas Instruments just slapped their name onto a PC compatible or PC clone of some kind, like the K-Pro Turbo XT that I have, or it was something along the lines of like the Compact or any of those other clones that were coming out. But no, this is actually completely different. This was a full custom-built machine that Texas Instruments built to compete with the IBM PC offerings. So yeah, let's take a look at it. So this thing has dual 5 1/4 floppy drives, 360K. I think they're high density or double density. And some of these models even came with an optional hard drive over here, which I'll talk about here in a second with this machine. So yeah, this thing was marketed in 1983 to be basically better than the IBM PC. Not just the PC itself, but all PC compatibles. Since most of the PC clones were stuck using 640K of RAM at max, because that was, all you ever needed was 640K. Or so that saying goes. But the thing was, Texas Instruments decided to bump that up to 768K with an optional RAM expander card. I don't know what RAM expander card's in here. It does have one, and it's not a very conventional one, which means I can't upgrade the RAM on this. There's some limitations with this machine. But yes, this thing is actually clocked a little bit higher than the normal 8088s. They are actually clocked at 5 whole megahertz instead of 4.77. Now I found that kind of weird, but apparently that means it'll run programs and games faster. The monitor here is actually a very nice CGA-esque monitor. I don't want to say it's full CGA or true CGA because there are some limitations with it. Apparently this monitor is proprietary to this machine. In fact, this is the only machine this monitor will work on it, apparently because of the way that the machine works. And we'll take it apart so I can kind of show the insides of it here after a bit. It has a custom version of MS-DOS that came packaged with it. I believe it's MS-DOS 1.04 or 05. One of the two. And I do have the boot discs for it, so I can at least show it working. And it does work. But yeah. Let's just tear this thing apart and show what the insides look like. And you'll see this thing's actually really surprisingly, interestingly built. So I do want to mention the deplorable conditions of this thing. It is actually very, very browned up front. In fact, I think it's supposed to be a little bit of a lighter shade of brown. But the main problem is, I don't know if you can see it very clearly with my camera, but there is some paint chipping here. I got this thing out of a, I'm trying to think of the best word to describe this. It was a business that this gentleman owned in town, and he was basically using it for overflow storage. And this place is a typewriters, aficionados playground. Typewriters of all kinds. In fact, I've even set aside a few IBM Selectrics that I'm going to bring home because I love those Selectrics. They look so cool. But there's typewriters from like the 40s all the way to basically till this guy quit doing it. He was using them basically to store all these machines for parts, cash registers, POS terminals. There's something in there that says IBM. It's a big, huge cube machine. I have no idea what it is. I think it's just a storage unit or something. But anyway, the gentleman passed away, and the guy that bought the building basically said, hey, I can have free reign. He basically told me that I could have free reign in there. And he's basically going to slowly start scrapping it out. He's getting to the lower section, which there's nothing in there but just like shelving units and new old stock like plumbing and electrical fixtures. So nothing major. I kind of asked him that if when he gets to the top section to kind of let me peek through a little bit. And I peeked through there first and found this. So this thing's in deplorable condition. But I'm actually really hesitant to restore this because of how kind of rare this machine is. This machine is so explicably rare that I actually went back to this place during a lunch break, and I was kind of a little bit late going back to work because I had to find the keyboard. The keyboard is also extremely proprietary to this machine, which is why it's not all that great of a PC clone. So let's take a look at this thing. Okay, so here we have the main motherboard, and you can see all this. This looks like it's all prototype. In fact, you can actually run your finger and feel the traces, which is very, very unusual for a computer for me. Floppy drive is actually integrated onto the motherboard, as well as this header here, which that looks like IDE. That's actually a single cable controller device for, you pop this floppy drive out and you can pop in a Winchester hard drive. I have some documentation on that. There's a video card. Now, technically speaking, it is a CGA-esque video card, but not truly. It's missing, on purpose too, it's missing a certain type of driver chip apparently to make it CGA, so I can't just use a generic CGA monitor. And part of that circuitry is apparently inside the monitor itself, which lets it be proprietary. And here we have the RAM expander card, which is called a Seeker RAM module. I don't know how much RAM this thing has. I'm going to have to run some software to show it how it works. We have the 5 expansion slots, much like the IBM 5150, which maybe has caused a complaint, but if you also think about this for a second, dual monitor support, a RAM card and a proprietary slot, which means you have 4 available expansion slots. You don't need one for the floppy or hard drive, and you also don't need one for the printer port, which is right here. Now, I do have the printer cable. It's just a generic parallel Centronics style cable, but I don't have a printer for it, so it's not going to matter. And the keyboard. So here's actually something fascinating. That looks like a 5-pin DIN. So technically, an XT or an AT keyboard would plug in here physically, but electronically, apparently, from what, and I had to look up on a forum, this thing uses some type of like serial UART controller to control the keyboard. It's something very similar to like, it's like a hybridization of like AT and serial, because it sends bidirectional data like AT, but it's serial based. It's very strange. There's a way to use Arduino to clone that and get keyboards to work on here, but luckily I have the original keyboard. So yeah, let's power this thing up, and I'll show you kind of some of the capabilities of this machine and some of the great limitations. So yeah, here's the end of the video cable. It's 9-pin, much like normal CGA, but it doesn't work that way. Now, something even more interesting is that this is the color version of the monitor. There's actually a monochrome one that's for text only, but apparently this monitor is just about as rare as the machine. In fact, every bit of this machine is rare, and it's kind of why I don't want to restore this thing fully. And I'll talk about that here towards the end of the video. Before I do, I kind of want to show this beast of a keyboard. Look at this thing. This thing is just massive. Oh, it actually uses actual key switches. And this keyboard is actually very yellowed, and the reason why I'm not retrobrighting this is because there's a thing about some plastics becoming brittle under retrobrighting procedures, and I have not found a forum where somebody's retrobrighted this. And like the Commodore 64, yeah, I had to mess up with mine, but the thing is, there are millions of those things out there. Millions of them out there. People have documentations of retrobrighting, some mistakes to avoid, things to avoid, that kind of stuff, and obviously I saw how to mess up with it. But like the VIC-20, same way, that retrobrighted Apple IIs, 2GSs, Atari, those things are known how they react to certain retrobrighting techniques. This is not. In fact, I haven't found really too much about these keyboards besides they use that weird serial connection. And it's not in perfect condition. Unfortunately, this key here, it uses mechanical switching, by the way. Very nice. I believe if I've read it up correctly, somebody said they're like an early version of Cherry, like MX Browns or something like that, like a really early version. But the key kind of broke off. And I didn't try to take it off or nothing. It was kind of like sitting there kind of like a little skewed, and I was like, oh, well, maybe it just needs to be put back on. So I pushed down on it, and it popped loose, and it's broken. But anyway, I'm going to show that. I do have some software. I have MS Basic, WordPerfect, the operations manual. These are very reminiscent of like the IBM's offerings, which is super nice. The only sad thing is these do not work in any PC I've tried them in. I even kind of threw together a 486 with a 3.5-inch drive, and it would not it wouldn't boot. It said like unknown format or something. But yeah, these are double density, double-sided discs. So they are 360K discs. In fact, I think actually technically, if I remember correctly from a forum, they said they're actually like 370K formatted. It's this weird format. We're gonna pop in the MS-DOS boot disc, which luckily the previous owner made copies of. Power it up and I can show you what it looks like. Power on the monitor. So yeah, we have MS-DOS version 1.25. Okay, I'm sorry. Copyright 1981, 82 from Microsoft. This is a custom version of MS-DOS. So we're going to type a new date, and then we're going to go to directory. And we have all this kind of stuff. So this is actually a this is the copy of the disc. Yeah, I'm actually going to tear this thing apart and do a internal restoration of the drives and stuff. They read and work, but yeah, it's DOS. This is just a copy of the MS-DOS boot disk. I'm going to show you the diagnostics program that came with the MS Basic here, because this is actually a very fascinating monitor. Super crisp and clear, which is actually really nice. And that is glaring like crazy. I wish I could turn that overhead light off, but I cannot. All right, so now MS Basic here has the basic program, so I can type in basic. So we're going to try that real quick. It even has a really nice reference guide. And a lot of it has some really nice variables. In fact, some of the variables here can do like mathematics and graphing and stuff, which is really neat. So and it should load in basic. Should. I actually don't know if this disc fully works. And it does. Cool. And yeah, that is just crisp. And yeah, this keyboard is super nice. What if I wasn't trying to type on my knee here? Okay, cool. Okay, so now we're going to try the diagnostics disc here, and it should read just fine. Yep. Because I kind of want to show you the color capabilities of this monitor. It's actually very fascinating. It's technically is CGA. Unit test, yes. CRT test, yes. Graphics test, yes. No disk. Let's not do that. Memory test, yes. Okay, so we're just going to run through these that way, because I don't want to do the diskette read write, because I don't want to actually format a floppy. Okay, so we have 256K of RAM, which does not sound like enough. But we have diskette 1, 2, two-sided, 40 track. System config code. So now it's testing all the RAM. Okay, that got rid of a little bit of glare. So yeah, so it has two different system ROMs here. I think it's just split between two different chips, which is very reminiscent of the 5150 and the 60 as well, because they were split across a couple different ROM chips. So yeah, this is what I wanted to show. It's actually really fascinating, because this is normal text stuff, but this monitor has capability of 8 colors. So, I mean, yeah, I'm including black as a color here, but yeah, we have blue, red, magenta, green, light blue, yellow, white. So what's really interesting is that this machine can do, it's not true CGA, because technically CGA is 16 color, but it can do 8 color, which is kind of a weird hybrid in between thing. So yeah, this card's actually really fascinating. Like it's not a, like I said, it's not a CGA card. It's CGA-esque. So yes, this is the Texas Instruments professional computer. And I know exactly what you're thinking. Hey, wait. You only showed a diagnostic disc. Show us more software. Show us more, show us some games. I bet games would look great on this. And you're right, games absolutely would look pretty neat on here with that 8 colors display, especially considering it can display all 8 colors at once. But I want to talk about some of the reasons why I can't. And a lot of those reasons are because of the reasons why this thing ultimately failed in the marketplace, just like its little brother, the TI-99 4A. Yeah, same company. And they also failed for several almost very similar reasons. So the first big reason is because of the non-standard video output. The video card, even though it is CGA-esque, is not true CGA. In fact, some of the card is missing specific circuitry that makes it a true CGA card. And the circuitry that's missing, guess where they put it? Inside the proprietary monitor, meaning that you can't use this monitor on any other CGA or RGB based card. It's meant for this computer only. That also means on the RGB connector side, you can't use any other monitor of any kind except for this one. Now true, yes, the monochrome composite output is compatible with any off-the-shelf monitor, but if you're spending the kind of money for the desktop, you're going to get this monitor anyway. The other problem is the proprietary keyboard. Even though this is a very nice keyboard, that's the only keyboard you can get for it. There was no smaller one, there was no bigger one, there was no, reduced cost featured one. It was this or nothing. Unfortunately, this means that if the keyboard goes bad, you have to go buy a replacement from Texas Instruments. And that's because of the very strange protocol that Texas Instruments decided to use, the proprietary protocol. It's kind of a weird hybridization, like I said, of AT with bidirectional control and serial. So it's very strange. And in fact, I have been told on several forums, or I haven't been told, but read up on forums anyway, to not plug any other type of keyboard in that port. Or after a while, because it keeps trying to send signal to the wrong area, it could short out the keyboard, or worst case, the port. Another problem that this thing has is the proprietary hard floppy drives. They're not all that proprietary. They are just in appearance the bog standard 5 1/4 drives that almost everyone was using in the early 80s. IBM was using them, Compaq was using them, Hyperion was using them, K-Pro was using them. They're the same style, but like those computers, they use a proprietary interface and proprietary type of way of getting power to them. Meaning, you're out of luck if you want to replace this with a generic drive. In fact, you can't. I can't take these drives out and put them in any other computer, and I can't take any other computer floppy drive and put them in here, which ultimately will suck if one of these drives dies, which is why I'm going to tell them apart very carefully and lube the drives very meticulously and clean the drive heads very well, and then put this thing up on a shelf for my personal museum. Another negative aspect of this machine is the RAM. Because the RAM is not standard, even though it starts out at 64K and it's expandable up to 768K. Well, most DOS programs can't even see that unless they have a TSR or some sort of driver loaded. This apparently didn't need that. The DOS that was programmed for it could natively use that much RAM, which also broke compatibility with a lot of DOS software, including games. Even the motherboard, with its proprietary built-in floppy and hard drive controller, means that it's expecting a hard drive at that memory address. And it's a very strange non-standard address, meaning that, well, no floppy or hard drive controller that I can pop in there is going to work. My XT IDE won't work at all. A standard run-of-the-mill 8-bit MFM or RLL controller won't work either. It's because of Texas Instruments' proprietary want to do that way. The ISA slots, even though they are technically, yes, ISA in appearance, and I have pinned them out to make sure power and grounds are in the right spot before I plugged in my XT IDE device, and they did seem to be correct, but it will not read from my XT IDE, no matter what memory address I have it set at. Turns out they actually moved data lines around to make it incompatible with most PC hardware, meaning that you have to use special expansion cards. And these cards are even more rare than this machine, any part of this machine. It's more rare than them. In fact, I don't think I've even heard of anyone in the Facebook group that I'm in even having the expansion cards for this. So basically, this base model here is as expanded as it's going to get. Means no ad-lib or sound cards, no floppy controllers, no extra serial ports, no anything unless I happen to track down one of those specific Texas Instruments cards. And I don't even think there are sound cards for this, because this was marketed for business and not game use. It also uses a completely proprietary power supply. It's not a standard plug-in like a PC would use. In fact, it actually resembles the ones that the Apples II used. That weird square 6-pin just blown up and made bigger. A non-standard CJ card, a non-standard monitor, non-standard keyboard protocol, and non-standard internal parts that can't use any other PC components. That is ultimately why this machine failed. The other thing is the floppy disks. Even though, yes, these are standard run-of-the-mill double-sided, double-density 360K floppies, they're not 360K formatted. They're actually formatted at 320K. I had to double look that up. I wasn't 100% sure on that. Which means that these will not read in a standard run-of-the-mill MS-DOS-based computer without special software. I have not found software that can read them yet, which means I also haven't found software that can make floppies for this thing yet. The only way for me to make a floppy is to format it in the machine and just copy the floppies again, which I might end up having to do. Other weird oddity is that they clocked the CPU at 5 megahertz. It's still 8088, so technically speaking, this would run very fast. In fact, a lot of 8088, benchmarking stuff would probably run faster on here. In fact, this would probably be the fastest 8088 based PC if I could run software on it. So unfortunately, that means that no, I cannot put any games on here. And I have looked. There's actually an archive.com upload where somebody uploaded all the software they have that they had with this one of their Texas Instruments professional computers. And one of the files is Flight Simulator 1. Now, I don't know if it's an actual version of it, or if it was like a pack-in deal where Microsoft was like, hey, we're going to custom make this for you, but we also want to custom make you a flight simulator game to show the capabilities of the monitor. Whatever. Sure, why not? So I can't make that floppy yet. Apparently, the Infocom text adventure games, most of them will run on here with a certain TSR loaded into memory first, which, again, I can't load any of that stuff in because I don't have a way to load them in because of how proprietary this thing is. Another reason why this thing failed was its competition. This was conceived during 81-82 and was finally released in 1983. Unfortunately, this was also when the competition came out. IBM had released their PC XT by this point, which was vastly superior to the original PC that this was cloning. Not only that, but Compaq had released their Compaq Portable. The Compaq Desk Pro was coming out as well. And these were true PC compatible clones. You could take your IBM software and run it in your Compaq and vice versa with about like 90% compatibility. This has 0 compatibility with most IBM software, which absolutely sucks, because this would be a very nice and very powerful PC clone if it were not for that fact. And the final nail in the coffin for this machine was, well, the same thing that it has in common with the TI-99. Its parent company, Texas Instruments. I know what you're thinking, but wait, they made the computers. How is that a weakness? That's like saying Commodore or Sony or Apple's the reason the Apple II GS failed. Well, technically speaking, this is 100% accurate. Texas Instruments was explicitly particular about them being in control of every ounce of software on the Texas Instruments, even going as far as the final ROM revision of the TI-99, anyway, basically locking out third-party software unless it had a specific code in the ROM that allowed it to run. Which means, if this was a late enough version, none of my TI-99 games would run on it because they're all third-party. They did the same thing with this. They thought it was going to make a superior machine. No third-party meant no junk garbage software or incompatibilities or anything like that would pop up on the machine. They knew that the machine would work because they knew the software was going to work because they controlled it. And ultimately, this meant that very little, if any, games were released for it, besides the Infocom text adventure games being able to run on it with a TSR, and the one instance that I was able to find of MS-DOS or Flight Simulator running on it. that's all the games that might be for this machine. I mean, yeah, it might be able to run them if it used standard hardware or standard parts or standard memory address, but it doesn't. So unfortunately, that's it. The machine failed. So yeah, with that being said, thank you everyone for watching this video. This is a look at a computer that I've actually had for a few months. I just didn't have this was actually my planned Dosember for this year, because this was just so unique, like just in its proprietary, almost uselessness nowadays. I couldn't not make a video on it. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching this video. If you like to hit the like button, put down in the comments if you've ever used one of these or seen one of these, or if you know anything about these things that I might have missed. You know, share this to guys in the retro community, because maybe somebody has one of these and they know how to get software to it, or they know the exact program so I can make floppies and get games on it, because I would love to try Flight Simulator on here. Or if they know of some conversion software that can convert somehow, I don't know if that's even a thing, like other MS-DOS games to work on this particular machine. That'd be awesome to see this thing at least be used more than just work perfect. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching the video. Have a happy Dosember, a happy December, happy holidays, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.